That was the famous speech, "I Have a Dream," by Martin Luther King Jr. This speech was made when African Americans were struggling against racial discrimination in the United States of America. Who are African Americans? They are the descendants of Africans who were brought into America as slaves between the 17th century and early 19th century. They are often referred to as Afro-American, Black American, or Black. Even though slavery was abolished in 1865, the discrimination continued in America. How? They faced discrimination in the school system. African Americans were denied equitable housing rights. They faced discrimination in employment opportunities. Not just this, several public places were segregated between white and Black Americans. To overcome these problems, they were fighting for justice in the 1950s and 1960s. The USA was witnessing the civil rights movement. The movement was fought largely using non-violent methods of civil disobedience. Civil disobedience? You must have heard this term before. The act of not obeying the rules of a government without resorting to violence is called civil disobedience. So, did the movement succeed? Well, it made a dent in society, but African Americans were not fully satisfied. And this dissatisfaction was expressed during the 1968 Mexico Olympics. You must be wondering, whoa, Olympics? Did African Americans organize a huge protest in front of an Olympic stadium? No. The silent act of protest by a few athletes drew international attention. So, who were these athletes? Tommie Smith and John Carlos. They protested on the podium after winning medals for their country. Tommie Smith had won the gold, and John Carlos had won the bronze medal in the 200 meters race. During the medal ceremony, as the American national anthem played, the two men raised black gloved fists with bowed heads. This was the gesture of silent protest against racial discrimination in America. Look at their legs. They wore black socks without shoes. What does that signify? It signifies black poverty in the United States of America. And their clenched fists symbolize black power. What's that? Well, it was another anti-race movement that began in 1966. It was more militant and did not hesitate to advocate violence to end racism in the US. It came to an end in 1975. All right, what about the third athlete, Peter Norman? He was a white Australian athlete who had won the silver medal. Was he silent? No. He showed his support to the protest. He wore a human rights badge on his shirt. They were hailed as heroes to the African American community. However, they were not spared from criticism back home. But the International Olympics Association criticized them for this move. They were found to be guilty of making a political statement. Why? They had not indulged in vandalism or violence. Well, the reasons were technical. Racial discrimination was considered an internal matter of the United States of America. Smith and Carlos were punished for raising the issue on an international platform, which was purely dedicated to sports. Their medals were taken back. Peter Norman paid the price for supporting them. He was not included in the next Australian Olympic team. But their act of silent protest didn't go in vain. The symbolic importance of their protest was widely recognized. In fact, people honored Carlos and Smith in later years. Recently, their alma mater, San Jose University, honored them by installing a statue of the symbolic gesture in the university campus. That's a step towards ending racial discrimination and honoring brave athletes, isn't it? Let's pause here for a moment. Why are we highlighting the identities of protesters and athletes so often? We identified Carlos and Smith as African Americans. We called Peter Norman white Australian. Are these identities so important? Let's explore.